that's a nationally syndicated radio show.
Yes, it is. Very popular.
Now, one of your interviews with the Breakfast Club took place on June 30th. Is that correct? 27th?
Probably, yes.
Are you aware that the Breakfast Club rated that interview number 9 among the top 10 interviews?
Yes, it should have been high. Yes.
All right.
Residential Treatment Center. I did therapy while attending the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, my clinical practicums in the Center for Brief Therapy. I have been a therapist for most of my career. Do I do therapy in private practice? Of course not. Certified school psychologists don't do therapy. We do school psychological counseling. But have I been a therapist? Absolutely. I've done it for years, and the two principal organizations that I've done it from, although I have since resigned, was the Children's Crisis Treatment Center, where I was an outpatient therapist for children and families, as well as the Philadelphia Mental Health Center, where I did some of my doctoral clinical practicums, and I was asked to stay on and continue being a therapist. In Philadelphia, we have a very large behavioral health system, which is filled with master's level and PhD level therapists who are not licensed, who work under the supervision of a licensed psychologist. So yes, I have been a therapist. And no, it is not included in my work as a certified school psychologist. Outside of school is therapy. In the school is school psychological counseling, and that's also in the state code.
Come on, just for the admission of Exhibit C7.
Any objection to the admission of C7?
No, as long as we're clear on my clarification.
Understood. We'll admit it. This is that interview number 2, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, admitted. Issue being the private practice, but it also contains what you were saying, the certified school specialist as well.
Exactly. And are we clear here in going forward that the code does specifically state that a certified school psychologist employed can practice privately? Are we clear on that?
We will take notice of all the applicable law
Okay.
at the conclusion,
All right.
once all the evidence is in to apply it. So with that.
And again, reiterating that although I have that right, all of my work is done in a school building. There is no private work done other than the speaking, or if I'm called to train, or if I'm called to do an independent educational evaluation in another district in a school in Pennsylvania.
Understood. There was sort of an exception to the admission of C6 that you noted. It is on the record.
Okay.
It wasn't exactly an objection, but the statement that you made is obviously contained in the record, but we're going to admit C6.
Thank you.
All right.
That's one question, if I could. Clarifying question. I noticed what the first exhibit was 2014. And of course we're here because I'm being accused of practicing psychology without a license. If this goes back to 2014, and I remember the first time I was contacted by an investigator from the Bureau of Professional Affairs, a Mr. Ernest Dixon, I believe his name was, an African American. I met with him at King of Prussia, an office there, his office, and he interviewed me. I answered all his questions. He shook my hand, and I believe he said, you know, just be careful, but I don't see anything here. That was in 2014, 2015.
But what is the clarifying point?
Okay, the clarifying point is, If the state felt that I was practicing psychology without a license, why did they wait almost 4 years to say something to me about it?
I understand. I don't know if we're going to, that will
Okay.
come out throughout
Okay.
the course of the proceeding. And so I did not rule the motion because he's not testifying. What you just said is not considered testimony. You're not sworn in at this time. So I'm not going to hold the objection because it's not going to be considered testimony.
Or should it though, because that's a part of this that I met with.
It certainly can be, and then
Okay.
once the Commonwealth rests, will become you're sworn in, and that is where you want to go in your testimony. And now, obviously, he's going to voice an objection at that time, the one he just stated regarding it being hearsay. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
He is sworn now. Correct?
You have not sworn. He has not been sworn in. Oh, I'm sorry. You are, because you are under
Yes,
oath,
ma'am.
and
Yes.
you've actually been called as a common witness. So, therefore, his objection is that when you said the investigator told me that that was hearsay. And so, whenever you have a statement that is made outside of a testimonial atmosphere, then you have to have a certain exception for it to be admitted. So, you can't testify to what someone told you or what someone said.
Understood. Are investigators required to submit some sort of a summary or anything after they meet with someone for the purposes of an investigation? Should there have been a summary document or something that he would have been required to file as a result of me meeting with him in his office in King of Prussia?
That's for the Commonwealth to determine, because it's the Commonwealth investigator. I cannot think of any particular statute that says an investigator for the Commonwealth has to reduce all interviews to a written or recorded form. So I cannot, respond to that particular statement. But nevertheless, for the purposes of what we just went through, that portion of what the investigator said will not be admitted or considered. The date that you spoke about, when it occurred, obviously that is in consideration. All right.
So there's really nothing to present on my side, but I did want to ask a few questions, if I could, about the case. For example, and you can tell me if this would be applicable.
Okay.
I was going to ask him, is there any evidence other than 2 Breakfast Club interviews and a screenshot of a website 4 years ago that proves I practiced as a licensed psychologist or held myself out as one in any way whatsoever in my 20 years of being in the field of school psychology? Is this all we have?
As far as where we are right now, this is all we have because the Commonwealth investigator, they have finished their case in chief.
When did the Commonwealth first began looking at the potentiality of me practicing or holding myself out as a licensed psychologist without actually being so? Because I'm confused. I've been in the field 20 years. This is 2014, so obviously since 2014 they've been quote unquote watching me. And I've done at least one interview with an investigator. 4 years. Why has no one ever come to me and said, we feel that you may be practicing or holding yourself out as a licensed psychologist? Why was that never brought to my attention and it could have been mediated there? Why did it go 4 years after coming to a courtroom, a hearing? Why did we have to come here? To me, it feels like a deliberate attempt to entrap me or to make me look to be as something that I've never held myself out to be. I'm confused as to why has this taken so long and why hasn't there been a conversation before we even got to this point, especially given the limited evidence. It looks like we're reaching and pulling. A case is trying to be made, and for what reasons if it's other than my political views? Right. The first Breakfast Club interview was 15. The second one was 16. And the last one was 17. So again, it's still 3 years of looking for stuff when you can just ask. I feel that the whole case is about the fact that my popularity is such that they feel I must have been doing something illegal in order to be as popular as I am, because there's no precedent for a certified school psychologist to have reached this level of popularity without actually having held an authentic license, which I've never claimed to have had. And that's the other thing. Where do they ever hear me say that I'm licensed? Where do they ever hear me say that I'm a clinical psychologist? Where do they ever hear me say anything other than certified school psychologist? And when I say psychologist or psychological, it's always in reference to school psychological services or being a school psychologist. Where is the evidence to support this case?
Anything else you wish to say for the board's consideration?
One thing I would add, only because I don't think you have it, is a copy of my psychology resume.
All right, so we'll mark that as, if you wouldn't mind, at the very bottom of the page, how many copies do you have with you?
I have two. One is back to back and the other is just two sheets, but they're identical.
Okay, very good. If you could, on both of the documents, write at the bottom R-1, so respondents 1.
R1.
The page, the one that is 2 pages, we're gonna give that one to the court reporter, and it'll be made part of the record.
Okay.
The one that's marked R1, if you could please show it to Mr. Kelly.
That's why she learned this crazy.
I know what you
You
will.
just got a job to do, right? All right. Thank you. Today was about a charge against me, accusing me of holding myself out as and practicing as a licensed psychologist without a license. The evidence that they showed, and I could not believe it, and everybody here saw it. The evidence that they showed was 2 clips from my second and third Breakfast Club interview and a screenshot from our 2014 website. Let me say this again. This is the evidence. 2 clips from my Breakfast Club interview 2 and 3 and a screenshot from my 2014 website. They show no evidence of me having conducted a single evaluation, a single therapy session. They can't find any evidence of me having ever performed any work as a clinical psychologist except under the supervision of a clinical psychologist. The case was bogus. It was nonsense. The closing argument was that I do therapy with adults. Everyone who knows me knows I specialize in what? Children. And all my work is school-based.
And you never said you was licensed.
And I never said I was licensed.
Shit.
This is being done, and by the way, I asked to know who made the initial complaint against me. They said that it's confidential.
Yeah,
It's confidential, and I don't have a right to know what it is or what it was.
Right.
That is nonsense. I have a right to face my accuser. That is nonsense.
Discovery, request for discovery. That's what it is.
Unfortunately, brothers and sisters, I don't think it was one complaint. I know it wasn't.
Request discovery.
Because every time the investigators contacted me, they said they received yet another one. And I believe coons as well as Caucasians helped put me in this situation. But I also believe that the State Board of Psychology of Pennsylvania is jealous of the fact that an unlicensed certified school psychologist with a doctor of clinical psychology can have the type of international reputation that they do now. And the reason we have to fight is because if we let them do it to any one of us, they'll do it to all of us.
That's right.
And for those of y'all who have cameras, put that camera on all these brothers and sisters who came out here in the cold to support Dr. Umar Johnson. Because it's cold, this is Pennsylvania, it's ice, it's snowing. These brothers and sisters forsake their jobs, their livelihoods, their children. They got their own financial issues, as we all do, but they cared enough about Dr. Umar Johnson to come on out here. Brothers and sisters came from the West Coast, from the Midwest, from the deep North, the deep South.